Friday on Knight Rider, a hostage crisis leads Michael into a one-man war.
Let's give these guys a run for the money.
Against an army of terrorists. Friday on Knight Rider.
Production 60219, Sky Knight. This episode was written by Carlton Hollander and Dennis Rodriguez. It was directed by Jeffrey Hayden. This episode had the original working title of Doomsday before it was changed to Sky Knight. It originally aired on NBC Friday night 8 p.m. on October 18th, 1985. It was filmed from August 15th through the 22nd of 1985. It was the 66th episode to air, but the 68th to be produced. The synopsis reads as follows. Michael and Devin begin a frantic search for a hijacked plane containing many passengers, including Bonnie. Now, we have some internal production notes regarding this specific episode, and on one specific NBC memo, it states, first draft filled with action but lacked logic in spots. Rewrite improved, although production costs have necessitated several changes. This episode will require a great deal of post-production and miniature work. This episode is slow to start but ends fairly well. Notes given to strengthen the opening with some pickups being considered. Speaking of, one thing this memo talks about was the fact that production costs have necessitated several changes. We actually have some budget information behind this specific episode. A lot of people over the years have asked us, well, what was the budget per Knight Rider episode, right? And we have a lot of that information for especially season 3 and season 4. But to give you an idea, the budget for Sky Knight. This episode had a budget of $1.5 million, little over $1.5 million, which is kind of expensive if you think about it for 1985. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the reason that Knight Rider was canceled after the 4th season, because they were just spending so much money per episode in, again, 1985 dollars. But an interesting note, though, this episode ended a little over $5,000 under budget. I know $5,000. What's that when it's $1.5 million budget? But they actually came in under budget, and those savings were realized in crew hours, extras, and film. So they did save a few bucks, but it was still an expensive episode to be produced. So here we are in the airport terminal, actually just set on a stage. But couple notes about this. First of all, an audio note. If you listen in the background, there is a man named Robert Ewing being paged. He's actually a producer on this last season of Knight Rider. He was also paged in the hotel lobby in season 3 episode Night Strike, which I thought was pretty cool. And also, this guy on the far left who plays Kurt, Brian Thompson, he's actually a close friend, at least he was, I'm assuming still is, a close friend of David Hasselhoff's during the filming of this, and assumingly still so. But I thought it was neat that he was playing the antagonist here against Michael, but they're actually really good friends. And you just have to smile about how different airports were depicted 35 years ago, right? I mean, the security is nothing like it is today, and you just have this one lady at the gate passing off the tickets, and even after the bomb threat, she's still letting people onto the airplane without any suitcases being checked, or briefcases, excuse me, and it's just a little ridiculous. So back in that memo where it talked about lacking logic in spots, this is a prime example of that. So here's an interesting little piece, and we'll show you the video for it in a minute, but there's actually a discrepancy between the NBC original airing of this particular scene where Kitt's coming to stop the guys that had the bomb, and a discrepancy between the NBC airing and the later syndicated version. So in one version, you see a close-up, you see Kitt coming at the camera, and then you see Michael telling Kitt to microjam. In one version, you see a close-up of the comm link, and you don't see the microlock button. In the other version, you don't see the close-up of the comm link. You see Michael talking into his comm link, but the words he's saying are not matching his lips. And then you do see the microlock button. So it's just a small, tiny discrepancy in editing. Here, take a look. And another prime example of lacking logic in this episode. So Michael punches a guy, and then this other guy's getting out. He slams the door on the guy and pushes the guy's leg in, but somehow that incapacitates him, right? He gets knocked out just by his legs getting hit by the door. So I guess maybe he hit his head on something in the inside of the van. I don't know. But another kind of stretch of the imagination. So check this out. This what you're seeing here is actually a set, right? It's not on a real airplane. It's actually a set. And if you look at the way things are set up, obviously, I mean, there's a lot of room on this plane. But this set was actually rented from a place in Tacoma, California called Airline Film and TV Promotions. And really, anytime you saw cockpits or passenger compartments on an airplane, on shows back in the day, they were probably just rented from this outfit. And we happen to have the rates for it. This is a sheet from 1985 showing the rates. So you can get the different types of mock-ups, whether it's a cabin or a cockpit and different things like that. And here's the information, just some information to try and sell their product or rent their product out to productions. It gives all this information from their brochure. So you can see here, it probably wasn't cheap to rent those sets. I mean, $1,000 per day to prep it and to strike the set back in 1985. It was expensive. And here, take a look at this. So here's more of a wide shot here, and you can clearly see if this was a real airplane, the wall would be right here, but there's all this room over here to this side of the passengers. I was looking through here. I don't recognize these. I think these were all extras that were brought in. No speaking roles, just extras brought in to sit on the airplane. And I think some of these, like the nuns, make it to the Project Deep Sleep building, later in the episode. But I don't think all these people end up making it to there. And I go to the next slide, and I completely prove myself wrong. Because if we look here, so this guy in the pink shirt, right? He's right here. He almost looks like Jan Michael Vincent from Airwolf. Anyways, we've got this couple here, the blonde and the blue shirt guy, and there they are right over there. So I guess everyone did kind of make it over to this set, of course. And all of these props here were rented from Modern Props, the same place that outfits the semi-interior set with all their futuristic components. These were all rentals that you see here. And we see Bonnie's identification card for flag, which is interesting. Very kind of generic, right? There's not much to it. But if you look at this picture, just by coincidence, or really not, the shirt that Patricia is wearing or that Bonnie's wearing there is the same shirt she's actually wearing here. So it's clearly something that they took this picture just for this episode. Wonder where this semi is today. Michael and Kit arrive at the drive-in. This is the Pickwick drive-in in Burbank, California. It is no longer there. It hasn't been there for a long time. But this is actually one of our two cars that we own. This is the car that you saw in Jay Leno's garage in 2018, and we had it on Good Morning America. So here it is making another appearance in Season 4. It'll make a few more appearances in Season 4, and then it takes a little break, and we see it later on in the season as well. I always liked this chase sequence, right? They're shooting at Michael and Kit, and Kit's racing off here. But take a look at this. So this is the hardtop stunt car, the car that they've had since Season 1. But it's got the rubber shell on it. And we've seen this many, many times in the show. But what's neat is this angle here, right? So you can see this rope under here is connecting the two front fenders of the rubber shell, and that's just to keep them from kind of flapping all around as they're driving. This is somewhat tight, and it keeps them hugged up against the actual car here. But clearly you can see the rubber shell here and how it just sits on top of the Trans Am body. This might be one of the best examples of how it just sits on top of the existing Trans Am. And Michael says this will blow him away to run over the do not back up spikes. However, if you look at them, the spikes are facing the opposite way of what would actually do damage. But then we move forward, and now the spikes are facing towards the car, so it actually blows out their tires. Here's a rare shot of the inside of that same hardtop stunt car we were just talking about. You can see the roof is actually painted black here. The last time, well, not the last time, but the first time we ever saw the inside of this car, we see it briefly in Goliath in season 2, but it's very rare to see the inside of this car. This metal post here, whatever, is actually a pull handle to open the trunk. And if you look in the background here, we have more modern props items. These two boards right back here, these wall units with the blinky lights, these are the same forms as what we call the boomerang unit in the semi, on the semi set and against the back wall. It's the same forms, they just have the inserts have different electronics. These are just blinky electronics on this one. And the famous Doomsday device, also from Modern Props. This we saw in Junkyard Dog as well. In 2012, this exact prop made an appearance at the Knight Rider reunion in California. And here's what it looked like at that point, which is identical to what it looked like in the episode. Michael and Kit are driving along. Kit's in Super Pursuit mode. This is one of the only times we kind of see this point of view shot of the actual Super Pursuit mode car. And you see these little tabs here. This is actually the factory tabs for this screen. This is a factory Trans Am screen that fits in the hood scoop. These are the tabs for that screen that screw into the housing that holds the screen. But that's what those are right there. And now we arrive at the town of Cactus, which is actually Universal Studios Courthouse Square, where they filmed Back to the Future. In the background here, this is Sherry Benson's White Rock General Store from Good Day at White Rock right there. And pulling up here, we've got some insurance, jewelers, a Burger King right here. These are obviously all fake. And returning for the last time in the series, the third and final time, Jack Starrett. We first saw him way back in the Topaz Connection in Season 1. We saw him in Kit the Cat in Season 2, and here he is playing the sheriff in Season 3. This is our car as well, our stunt car. This is the first time we see it with its tinted windows, and pretty much, I'm trying to think, every future episode, I think it's got the tinted windows on it, because when we ended up getting the car many, many decades later, it actually still had the window tint on it. It had turned purple and was peeling and bubbling, but the window tint was still on it from when it was used for filming. And an extremely rare look at the inside of our car when they were filming. I think this is the only episode we see the inside of our car. And you can tell it's different than that other hardtop stunt car, because this one actually has a tan headliner in it, right? But it was a hardtop car on the show, so it's a tan hardtop headliner. It does have an overhead console in it, just a blank. There's no cutouts for electronics. And then we move forward here. This is still our car taking off, and then it goes towards to leaving the town square. And this is all from Back to the Future, right? This was all, you saw all of this in Back to the Future. The DeLorean ran into this movie theater here. And a bit later in the episode, Michael returns to the town of Cactus, and we get kind of this side view here, or this alternate view of that movie theater. But take a look here. Over here, there's a sign that says Statler Motors. This is from Back to the Future right here, the Statler Motors. So it's really cool. It's kind of an Easter egg, because remember, this episode was filmed in August of 1985, and Back to the Future, when was it filmed? It was probably in 84, right around the same time, right? And take a look at this. There's an E.T. poster right here, which I think is kind of neat. So Michael and Kit are trying to identify the RC car that Nick has, and Kit starts going through all the latest and greatest models here, as you can see. And he continues on, showing all these, shows this one. All right, so pay attention to that one, right? Then he shows this one, and Michael says, wait, go back one. And when they go back one, it's actually this one, not this one. So there's a little bit of editing mistake. But the one that they actually do show here is the one that Nick does, in fact, have, right? Yeah, it's identical. All right, so Michael and Kit are infiltrating the Doomsday compound. We get this great reused footage from Night Strike, one of my favorite scenes that features our car, where the bombs are just blowing up on either side of them. And also intermixed with that footage is footage way back from Deadly Maneuvers at the beginning of Season 1. All right, and here's what the memo was referring to. Tons of miniature work. The Doomsday bunker, the cargo plane, Kit going up into the cargo plane. And remember, that Kit miniature is It's 1/8 scale, so it's what, like 2 feet long? So imagine how big that back of that airplane had to be for that miniature KITT to drive up in it. It's crazy. All right, and then during the fight in the plane, this is clearly not David Hasselhoff and clearly not Ron O'Neal, who played Zurich, right? That is definitely not him. And KITT, once again, is skydiving, just like he did back in Goliath Returns. Here, he's skydiving again, and for the last time. And Michael saves the day. Now they're getting ice cream. This is still on the Universal Studios back lot. And even though we saw the semi in the episode, all the times we have seen the semi previously in this episode, it was all stock footage. But here they actually had the real semi in the background just for this scene. So this, if we count episodes where the semi was actually used, not just stock footage, this now counts as one of those episodes. And it ends with Jack Starrett, his character, the sheriff, trying to give KITT a ticket. Now, one interesting thing to note, on this episode, he tries to give him a ticket, and he says something like, giving a ticket to a talking car, whatever. And then it cuts and the episode ends. But in the script, KITT actually self-drives and moves away so he doesn't get the ticket. In this scene, they're actually using the left-hand blind drive car. You can see the shroud right here. So I bet you they filmed that where KITT was driving off scene, but they just cut it and didn't use it. Alrighty, folks, that wraps up Sky Night. Next up in our Season 4 episode commentary, we have Burial Ground. Hope you guys are still enjoying these. We're closer to the end than we are to the beginning of the episode commentaries. Thanks always for watching. We'll catch you next time.